The first plasma blast hit the sanctuary's engine section at exactly 1400 hours. The entire ship shook like a toy in the hands of an angry child. Emergency lights flashed red throughout the corridors as the main power systems failed. Dr. Amanda Clark was thrown against the wall of Medical Bay 7, her medical scanner flying from her hands and shattering on the floor. "All hands! We are under attack!" came Captain Jake Morrison's voice over the communication system. His words were calm, but Amanda could hear the shock beneath them. "This is a medical vessel. We are protected under galactic law." The second blast tore through the hull near the children's ward. Amanda felt the ship's artificial gravity flicker as she ran toward the sound of screaming children. The corridor filled with smoke and the terrible smell of burning metal. Emergency doors were closing automatically, but not fast enough to save everyone. Emma Santos was crying in her bed when Amanda reached her. The little girl's leg wound had started bleeding again from the impact. Around them, other children were calling for their parents, not understanding why the ship was shaking and why the lights were flashing. "It's going to be okay," Amanda told Emma, though she knew it was a lie. She picked up the girl and started, moving toward the emergency escape pod stations. "We're going to take a little trip." Nurse Beth Williams was already there with 6 other children, but her face was pale with fear. "Doctor, the escape pods in this section are damaged. We need to get to Deck 4. The ship shook again as another plasma blast hit them. This time, Amanda heard the terrible sound of hull plates being torn away. Somewhere in the distance, she could hear Sam Rodriguez's voice over the communication system calling out damage reports. Life support was failing. The fusion reactors were becoming unstable. Amanda and Beth carried the children through corridors filled with floating debris and emergency foam. Other medical staff were doing the same thing throughout the ship, trying to save as many patients as possible. But the sanctuary had never been built for combat. It had no armor, no military shields, and no way to defend itself. On the bridge, Captain Morrison was sending desperate messages to any ship that could hear them. "This is medical vessel Sanctuary under attack by Zephyrian forces. We are a protected hospital ship carrying 3,000 patients. Request immediate assistance." Lieutenant Lisa Taylor was working frantically at her station, trying to keep the communication systems working as more plasma blasts hit the ship. "Captain, I'm getting responses from the galactic news networks. They're broadcasting what's happening live." "Good," Jake said grimly. "Let the whole galaxy see what the Zephyrians think of medical protection laws." War Prime Kethavar's face appeared on the main screen again. Behind him, Amanda could see other Zephyrian officers watching the attack with satisfaction. "Human vessel. You were warned. Your ship carries military intelligence and enemy combatants. This is the price of helping our enemies." "You're killing children," Jake shouted at the screen. "You're killing doctors and nurses and patients who can't even stand up." The Zephyrian commander's yellow eyes showed no emotion. "Weakness. Your species is too weak for this galaxy. Consider this a lesson." Another blast hit the bridge directly. Jake Morrison disappeared in a flash of superheated plasma, along with 2 other bridge officers. Lisa Taylor was thrown across the room, her left arm clearly broken, but she crawled back to her station and kept working. "This is Lieutenant Taylor taking command," she announced over the ship's communication system. "All sections, begin immediate evacuation procedures." In the engine room, Sam Rodriguez was fighting a losing battle against the ship's failing systems. Plasma conduits were exploding around him as he tried to keep the fusion reactors from overloading. If those reactors went critical, they would take out everything within 1,000 kilometers, including the Zephyrian ships. "Sam, get out of there," came Dr. Kevin Hughes's voice over the communication system. "The whole section is about to collapse." "Not yet," Sam replied, sweat pouring down his face as he worked. "I can give you 5 more minutes for evacuation, maybe 10 if I'm lucky." Back in the medical bays, Amanda was making the hardest decision of her life. The escape pods could only hold a fraction of the patients aboard the sanctuary. She had to choose who would live and who would die. "Beth, take all the children you can carry," she said. "Get them to the pods on Deck 4. "What about you?" Beth asked. Amanda looked around at the wounded patients who couldn't be moved. Many of them were unconscious. Others were too badly injured to survive in an escape pod. "Someone has to stay with them." "Dr. Clark, you can't," one of the younger nurses said. "The ship is breaking apart." "These people trusted us to save them," Amanda replied. "I won't abandon them now." Dr. Hughes arrived with more patients on floating stretchers. His medical uniform was torn and covered in blood, but his hands were still steady. "Amanda, we can't save everyone. We have to be practical." "You take the next group to the pods," Amanda told him. "I'll stay with the critical cases." The ship shook again, more violently this time. Through the hull breach in medical Bay 3, Amanda could see one of the Zephyrian destroyers firing continuously. The aliens weren't just attacking the ship, they were making sure it would be completely destroyed. Emma Santos tugged at Amanda's coat. "Doctor, where are my mommy and daddy?" Amanda knelt down and held the little girl close. "They're waiting for you somewhere safe. We're going to send you to them. Okay?" But even as she said it, Amanda knew she was lying again. Emma's parents were dead, killed in the same attack that wounded her. And now the little girl might die too. All because the Zephyrians saw mercy as weakness. Lieutenant Taylor's voice came over the communication system one last time. "All remaining personnel, this is the final evacuation call. The ship's structure is failing. We have maybe 3 minutes before complete hull breach." Amanda looked around at the patients she couldn't save. Old men and women who had lived through decades of war. Young soldiers who would never see their families again, and civilians who had done nothing wrong except be in the way when the shooting started. "I'm sorry," she whispered to them. The final plasma blast hit the ship's central structure. The sanctuary broke apart like a flower opening its petals, spilling escape pods and debris into the cold darkness of space. Some of the pods made it clear. Others were destroyed by secondary explosions or caught in the ship's gravitational collapse. Amanda Clark died holding Emma Santos in her arms as Medical Bay 7 was torn open to space. Around them, 3,000 dreams ended in silence and starlight. War Prime Cathvar watched the destruction on his command screen and nodded with satisfaction. "Send a message to all ships in this sector. This is what happens to those who aid the enemies of the Zephyrian Empire." What he didn't know was that news cameras across the galaxy had recorded every moment of the attack. And somewhere on a research station near Earth's moon, a brilliant man named Nathan Cross was watching his sister die. Nathan Cross had been working for 3 weeks without sleeping more than 2 hours at a time. His research team watched him with growing concern as he filled whiteboards with equations that hurt their brains to look at. Dr. Rachel Stone brought him meals that he forgot to eat and coffee that went cold while he stared at quantum mathematics that most scientists thought were impossible. "The key is entanglement on a massive scale," Nathan explained to his team during one of their daily briefings. "Every atom in the universe is connected to every other atom through quantum fields. We just need to find a way to manipulate those connections." Dr. Ashley Morgan, the quantum physicist on his team, looked confused. Nathan, what you're describing would require more energy than a star produces. The calculations don't work. Nathan smiled for the first time since learning about Amanda's death. It was not a pleasant smile. The calculations work if you stop thinking like everyone else. Watch. He activated a holographic display showing two particles spinning in opposite directions. Standard quantum entanglement theory says these particles will always spin opposite to each other, no matter how far apart they are. But what if we could entangle not just two particles, but two entire star systems? Carlos Rivera, the system's engineer, shook his head. That's impossible. The amount of processing power alone would be impossible with current technology, Nathan interrupted, but not impossible with technology that doesn't exist yet. He changed the display to show a complex machine with parts that seemed to fold in on themselves. I call it a quantum field generator. It creates artificial entanglement between any 2 points in space, regardless of distance. Rachel studied the design with growing alarm. She had worked with Nathan long enough to know that his impossible ideas usually became possible very quickly. What would something like this be used for? Nathan's expression became very serious. Imagine you could make the Zephyrian home system temporarily exist in the same quantum space as an empty system on the other side of the galaxy. For a few minutes, both systems would share the same physical laws, the same gravitational fields, the same everything. That would disrupt everything, Ashley said, her voice barely a whisper. Communications, transportation, planetary shields, life support systems on space stations. Exactly, Nathan replied. And if I wanted to, I could make the effect permanent. An entire star system could simply stop existing in normal space while continuing to exist in quantum space. From the outside, it would appear that the system had been completely erased. From the inside, the inhabitants would be trapped forever in a space that connects to nothing. The room fell silent. Carlos was the first to speak. Nathan, you're talking about a weapon that could remove entire civilizations from existence without killing a single person, Nathan pointed out. They would continue to live, but they would be completely cut off from the rest of the galaxy. No communication, no travel, no way to threaten anyone else ever again. Admiral Coleman arrived at Luna Base 7 the next day for a personal briefing. Nathan showed him the completed design for the quantum field generator and explained how it would work. The Admiral listened in silence, his face growing paler with each detail. "This is beyond anything we've ever conceived," Coleman said when Nathan finished. "Are you certain it will work?" "I'm certain enough to test it," Nathan replied. "There's an uninhabited system 40 light-years from here. We can run a small-scale demonstration there. And if the test works," Nathan called up a star chart showing Zephyrian space. "Then we give War Prime Kethvar and his government a choice. They can surrender unconditionally and face trial for war crimes, or they can spend eternity isolated from the rest of the galaxy." The test took place 3 days later. Nathan's team had built a small version of the quantum field generator in the research station's main laboratory. The target was a lifeless solar system that contained nothing but rocks and frozen gas. Initiating quantum field displacement, Nathan announced as he activated the machine. The laboratory filled with a strange humming sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. On the main screen, they watched the target system through long-range sensors. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then every star in the system began flickering like candles in the wind. The planets stopped moving in their orbits. Space itself seemed to bend and twist around the system's boundaries. "Field stabilization achieved," Rachel reported from her monitoring station. "The system is now existing in isolated quantum space." For 10 minutes, the test system was completely cut off from normal space. No signals could enter or leave. No ships could travel to or from it. It existed, but it existed alone. "Reversing the field," Nathan announced. The humming sound stopped, and the star system returned to normal space as if nothing had happened. Admiral Coleman stared at the readings in amazement. "My God, Nathan, you've created the ultimate strategic weapon." "I've created the ultimate peacekeeping tool," Nathan corrected. "No more wars, no more genocides, no more attacks on hospital ships. Any civilization that chooses to threaten innocent lives will simply be removed from the galaxy until they learn better." Dr. Stone pulled Nathan aside after the briefing. "Nathan, I need to ask you something important. What happens if they refuse to surrender? What happens if you make the isolation permanent?" Nathan looked out the laboratory window at the stars where his sister had died. "Then they learn that there are consequences for treating mercy as weakness. The Zephyrians chose to murder doctors and children. They chose to break every law of civilized behavior. Now, they get to choose between justice and extinction. You're talking about condemning an entire species. I'm talking about saving every other species in the galaxy from them," Nathan replied coldly. "Amanda died because the Zephyrians thought humans were too weak to retaliate effectively. I'm going to show them how wrong they were." The final version of the quantum field generator was built in secret over the next 2 weeks. It was massive, requiring an entire asteroid to house its components, but it could affect any star system in the galaxy with pinpoint accuracy. Nathan named it the Mercy Engine, though his team thought the name was darkly ironic. It would enforce mercy by threatening total isolation. It would protect the innocent by removing the ability to harm them. It would end war by making war meaningless. "Sir," Carlos said as they prepared for the weapon's first operational use, "are you sure about this? Once we demonstrate what this machine can do, there's no going back. The entire galaxy will change." Nathan thought about Amanda holding little Emma Santos as their ship was destroyed. He thought about War Prime Kethvar's satisfied expression as he watched innocent people die. He thought about every hospital ship, every refugee convoy, and every civilian transport that might be attacked in the future. "The galaxy needs to change," Nathan said quietly. "And if the Zephyrians won't surrender peacefully, then they'll be the example that teaches everyone else why mercy must be protected." He activated the Mercy Engine's targeting system and locked on to the Zephyrian home system. Soon, War Prime Kethvar would learn what happened when a genius devoted his life to making sure Amanda's death had meaning. The change began slowly across Zephyrian space. On their homeworld, War Commander Vextar woke up on the 3rd day after the human operation began and felt something he had never experienced before in his life. For the first time, he questioned whether conquest was really necessary. The thought was so foreign to his mind that he almost dismissed it, but the feeling grew stronger throughout the day. In the command center of his flagship, Vextar stared at the tactical displays showing Zephyrian forces positioned throughout Coalition space. Yesterday, these displays had filled him with pride and anticipation for further victories. Today, they made him feel tired and confused. Why were they fighting this war? What was the actual purpose of all this destruction? Similar thoughts were occurring to Zephyrians across their empire. On Zerion Prime, the scientists who had been developing new biological weapons found themselves unable to concentrate on their work. The idea of creating diseases to kill innocent people suddenly seemed pointless and cruel. Many of them simply walked away from their laboratories and went home to spend time with their families. Fleet commanders who had been planning new attacks on coalition worlds began having doubts about their strategies. Soldiers who had been eager for battle started questioning their orders. Throughout Zephyrian space, the aggressive drive that had fueled their empire for generations was quietly fading away. Alex Carter watched the reports coming in through the human network with a mixture of satisfaction and concern. The pacification compound was working exactly as designed, but he knew this was only the beginning of a much larger transformation. From his command center in the converted wreckage of the sanctuary, he could feel the collective intelligence of humanity processing the implications of what they had accomplished. "Dr. Carter, we're receiving communication requests from Zephyrian commanders," Amy reported. "They're asking for ceasefire negotiations." "Already?" Lisa asked in surprise. "It's only been 4 days since we began the operation." Alex nodded, having expected this development. "The compound works quickly once it reaches sufficient concentration in their systems. Their brain chemistry is changing, and with it, their entire perspective on conflict and cooperation." Dr. Elena Martinez looked up from her monitoring station. "The biological changes are happening faster than we predicted. Zephyrian hormone levels are stabilizing at normal ranges for the first time in their recorded history. They're becoming who they were meant to be before their homeworld's magnetic field altered their development." Across the galaxy, coalition forces were witnessing something unprecedented. Zephyrian fleets that had been advancing on multiple fronts suddenly stopped their attacks. Some units began withdrawing from coalition territory without explanation. Others requested permission to land on neutral worlds to discuss surrender terms. The speed of the transformation shocked everyone except the humans, who had calculated every aspect of the change through their network. Alex felt the collective satisfaction of thousands of human minds as their plan succeeded beyond even their most optimistic projections. "Amy, contact Coalition Command. Tell them that humans are ready to begin formal peace negotiations with the Zephyrian Empire. We'll serve as mediators since we understand both the biological and political aspects of the situation." Captain Ron Blake looked up from the engineering station where he had been monitoring the operation. "Alex, the other species are going to ask questions about how we accomplish this. Are we going to tell them about the network?" Alex considered the question carefully. The human network was still active, still sharing knowledge and insights across impossible distances. He could feel the collective wisdom of his species helping him think through the implications of revealing their new capabilities. "We'll tell them what they need to know," Alex decided. "The galaxy needs to understand that humans are not what they appeared to be. We've been underestimated for too long." Over the following weeks, the transformation of Zephyrian society continued. Without the constant chemical drive for aggression, Zephyrians began to show remarkable creativity and intelligence. Their technology, previously focused entirely on warfare, was rapidly adapted for peaceful purposes. Their biological weapons facilities were converted into medical research centers. Their military fleets became exploration and trade vessels. The first official meeting between human and Zephyrian representatives took place on a neutral space station near the border between their territories. Alex traveled there personally, accompanied by Dr. Martinez and several other humans who had been key to the network's success. War Commander Vexitar attended the meeting, but he was a changed individual. The aggressive posture and militant attitude that had defined him were gone, replaced by curiosity and what appeared to be genuine remorse for his past actions. Dr. Carter, Vexitar said in heavily accented Standard Galactic, my people have been analyzing what happened to us. We know that humans were responsible for the change in our brain chemistry. Many of my subordinates consider this an act of war. Alex met the Zephyrian's gaze calmly. What do you consider it? Vextar was quiet for a long moment. I consider it liberation. For the first time in my life, I can think clearly about the consequences of my actions. I can feel empathy for the people my forces have harmed. The compound you used did not make us weak. It made us whole. The negotiations that followed established a new framework for galactic civilization. The Zephyrian Empire formally surrendered and began the process of transforming into a peaceful federation. Their advanced technology was shared with the Coalition in exchange for medical and educational assistance in adapting to their new society. More importantly, the other species of the galaxy finally understood what humans truly were: the quiet. Medical personnel and engineers who had seemed so harmless were revealed to be strategic thinkers of unprecedented capability. The species that everyone had dismissed as support staff had executed the most complex operation in galactic history. Alex returned to the sanctuary, which had been fully repaired and upgraded with new technology developed through the human network. As he walked through the medical bays, treating patients from multiple species, including former Zephyrian soldiers, he reflected on how much had changed. The network was still there, connecting human minds across the galaxy, but it no longer operated at the crisis level that had emerged during the war. Instead, it had become a permanent but subtle enhancement to human consciousness. Humans could still share knowledge and coordinate responses when needed, but they retained their individual personalities and free will. Dr. Morrison, fully recovered from his injuries, found Alex in the main medical bay. Alex, the Coalition. Council wants to meet with you. They're talking about restructuring the entire alliance with humans in leadership roles. Alex smiled as he continued treating a young Zephyrian who had been injured in an industrial accident. Tell them we're honored, but we prefer our current role. We're healers and builders, not rulers. That's what makes us human. Outside the viewports, ships from dozens of species work together in peaceful cooperation. The galaxy would never again underestimate the quiet species that preferred to heal rather than harm. But more importantly, humans would never again underestimate themselves. The crisis had revealed the true potential that lay dormant within humanity. They had used it to save the galaxy not through destruction, but through transformation and healing. That, Alex realized, was the most human response of all. The explosion tore through the sanctuary's hull like paper. Dr. Alex Carter felt the ship shake violently around him as emergency alarms screamed through the corridors. He had been in the lower medical bay treating a Kratari soldier when the first blast hit. Now sparks flew from damaged electrical panels while the lights flickered on and off. Alex was not like the other doctors on the ship. While his colleagues saw him as quiet and dedicated, they did not know about his past. Before joining the medical corps, Alex had been part of a secret military research program called Prometheus Protocol. The project studied what happened to human minds under extreme stress. What they discovered was carefully hidden from the rest of the galaxy. Another explosion rocked the ship. Alex grabbed onto a medical table to keep from falling as debris crashed down around him. Through the chaos, he could hear people screaming and calling for help. The Kratari patient he had been treating was unconscious but still breathing. Alex quickly checked the alien's wounds and applied emergency bandages before moving toward the corridor. The hallway was filled with smoke and broken metal. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows on the walls as Alex made his way toward the main medical bay. He passed several injured crew members and stopped to help each one. As he worked, something strange began happening in his mind. His thoughts were becoming clearer and faster than normal. Alex had experienced this feeling only once before, during the final tests of the Prometheus Protocol. The researchers had discovered that humans possessed a unique ability that activated only during life-threatening situations. When pushed to their absolute limits, human brains could operate at levels that seemed almost supernatural. Logic, creativity, and tactical thinking would merge into something approaching pure intelligence. In the main medical bay, Alex found chaos. Dr. Morrison was trapped under a fallen beam, his leg clearly broken. Dr. Parker was trying to treat multiple patients while blood ran down her face from a head wound. Captain Blake was working frantically to restore power to the critical systems, while Lieutenant Foster tried to establish communication with anyone who might help them. "Alex, thank God you're alive," Lisa called out when she saw him. "Jake is hurt badly and we have dozens of casualties. The ship's life support is failing." Alex knelt beside Dr. Morrison and quickly examined his injuries. The older doctor's face was pale with pain, but his eyes were alert. "Alex, you need to take charge of the medical operations. Lisa is hurt worse than she admits, and we need someone thinking clearly." As Alex worked to stabilize Morrison's broken leg, his mind continued to accelerate. He could see patterns in the damage around him, understanding not just what had happened, but why. This was not a random attack. The positioning of the explosions, the timing, the way they had been allowed to approach Kepler 442b without interference. This had been planned. "Ron, can you get communication systems working?" Alex asked the engineer. "I'm trying, but most of our arrays are damaged. I might be able to get short-range communications online in an hour or two." Alex's enhanced thinking allowed him to process multiple problems simultaneously. While treating patients, he was also analyzing the attack patterns and considering their tactical situation. The Prometheus Protocol was fully activating now, transforming his consciousness in ways that even he did not completely understand. "Amy, when you get communications working, I need you to contact all human vessels in this sector. Not Coalition Command, just human ships." Amy looked confused. "Why only human ships?" Alex finished treating Morrison and moved to help Lisa with the other casualties. As he worked, he explained what he was beginning to understand. This attack was designed to test human psychological responses. The Zephyrians are studying how we react to atrocities. They want to know if attacking medical ships will break human morale. Lisa stared at him in surprise. "How could you possibly know that?" Alex paused in his work, realizing he was revealing more than he should. But the crisis was too severe for secrets. "I was part of a research program before joining medical. We studied human mental capabilities under extreme stress. What we found was classified, but I think the classification no longer matters." Over the next several hours, Alex organized the survivors and began converting the wreckage of the medical bay into something more functional. His mind was operating at incredible speed now, seeing solutions that would have been invisible to him before. He could predict how damaged systems would fail and prepare alternatives. He could read the emotional states of his colleagues and know exactly what to say to keep them focused. When Ron finally restored communications, Alex immediately began contacting human vessels throughout the sector. What he learned confirmed his worst fears. The attack on the sanctuary was not isolated. Zephyrian forces had struck 3 other medical facilities in the past week. Each attack had been carefully planned to maximize psychological impact on human personnel. But something unexpected was happening. Instead of breaking human morale, the attacks were triggering something else. Alex spoke with Dr. Elena Martinez on Luna Station, who reported that she had been unable to sleep for 3 days, but was making breakthrough discoveries in Zephyrian biology. Engineer Paul Chen on Mars described designing weapon systems he had never seen before, but somehow knew would work perfectly. Alex realized that what was happening to him was not unique. Across human space, people were reporting enhanced mental abilities, strange dreams, and an overwhelming compulsion to contribute to some greater purpose. The Prometheus Protocol had not just affected the test subjects in the original program. It was a species-wide adaptation that activated in response to existential threats. Amy, I need you to establish a secure communication network with all the humans who are experiencing these changes. Use encryption protocols that only human technology can decode. Alex, what exactly are you planning? Lisa asked. She had noticed the change in him, the way his eyes seemed to see everything at once, the precision of his movements and words. Alex looked around at the damaged medical bay where his colleagues were working to save lives, despite their terrible circumstances. The Zephyrians think they understand humans. They see us as weak because we choose to heal instead of harm. They believe that attacking our medical ships will demoralize us and make the coalition surrender. He paused, feeling the full weight of what was happening to his mind and to humans across the galaxy. They have made a serious mistake. They have awakened something in humanity that has been sleeping for generations, something that we ourselves did not fully understand until now. Through the damaged viewports, Alex could see the debris field where the sanctuary now drifted. But he was not seeing it as wreckage anymore. He was seeing it as raw materials for something entirely new. His enhanced mind was already beginning to formulate plans that would span star systems and involve thousands of humans working in perfect coordination. The Zephyrians had attacked a hospital ship to send a message of terror. Instead, they had triggered a response that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. They just did not know it yet. Dr. Elena Martinez had not slept in 4 days, but she felt more awake than ever before in her life. She sat in her laboratory on Luna Station, surrounded by screens showing Zephyrian biological data that she was analyzing at impossible speed. Her fingers moved across the keyboard faster than she thought possible, connecting patterns that would have taken her months to discover before. The news about the attack on the sanctuary had reached her 2 days ago. Since then, something had changed inside her mind. She could see relationships between genetic sequences that had been invisible before. She understood how Zephyrian biology worked in ways that went far beyond her normal expertise. Most importantly, she felt connected to something larger than herself. On Mars, Engineer Paul Chen was experiencing the same transformation. He had been working in his garage when the first reports of the hospital ship attack came through the news feeds. Immediately, his mind had filled with designs for weapons and defense systems that he had never studied, but somehow understood perfectly. His hands moved without conscious direction, sketching blueprints for technology that should have been impossible to create. Paul's wife, Kate, watched him work with growing concern. "You haven't eaten anything in 18 hours, she said, bringing him a sandwich. "This isn't normal, Paul." "I know it's not normal," Paul replied without looking up from his work. "But it's necessary. Something is happening out there and humans need to be ready for it." Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out in human homes, laboratories, and workplaces. Communications specialist Rachel Adams on Europa was breaking Zephyrian military codes that had stumped coalition intelligence for years. Medical researcher Dr. Kevin Ross on Titan was developing treatments for biological weapons he had never encountered. Pilot Susan Clark on the space station Harmony was planning flight patterns for missions that did not yet exist. On the wreckage of the Sanctuary, Alex Carter felt all of these minds connecting to his own. It was not telepathy in the way other species understood it. Instead, it was like having access to a vast library where human knowledge and insights were being shared instantly across impossible distances. Every breakthrough that Elena made on Luna Station became available to him immediately. Every weapon design that Paul created was instantly understood by engineers throughout human space. "Amy, have you established contact with the other affected humans?" Alex asked, as he continued treating wounded survivors. "Yes, Doctor. I have secure connections with over 200 humans who are reporting similar experiences. The number is growing every hour." Lisa Parker looked up from the patient she was treating. "Alex, this is starting to scare me. What's happening to our people?" Alex paused in his work, considering how to explain something that he was only beginning to understand himself. The attack on the Sanctuary triggered something that has been dormant in human genetics for thousands of years. When our species faces an existential threat, we develop the ability to share knowledge and coordinate responses at an unconscious level. "You're talking about some kind of hive mind," Ron Blake said from where he was repairing damaged systems. "Not exactly," Alex replied. "We're still individuals with our own personalities and free will. But we can access a shared pool of human knowledge and capabilities when we need it most. It's like having the combined intelligence of our entire species available to solve problems." As if to demonstrate his point, Alex suddenly stopped working and turned to Amy. "Contact Dr. Elena Martinez on Luna Station. Tell her to focus her research on Zephyrian hormone regulation systems. Specifically, look for connections between their aggressive behavior and electromagnetic field exposure." Amy sent the message, and within minutes they received a reply. Elena had not only understood the request, but had already begun the research, somehow knowing it would be important even before receiving the message. The network was growing stronger with each passing hour. Humans who had never met were working together on complex projects with perfect coordination. Scientists were sharing research data instantly. Engineers were building components for machines they had never seen complete blueprints for, trusting that other humans somewhere else were creating the missing pieces. Captain Dan Wright of the human transport ship New Hope was one of the first to contact Alex directly. "Dr. Carter, I don't understand what's happening to me, but I know I need to bring my ship to your location. I have supplies and personnel that you're going to need." "How do you know what I need?" Alex asked. "I just know. The same way I know that engineer Sarah Kim on Ceres Station is building specialized medical equipment for you, and that pilot Joe Stone is preparing to make supply runs to locations I've never heard of before." Alex smiled for the first time since the attack. The network was not just sharing knowledge, it was organizing human resources across the galaxy to support whatever plan was emerging from their collective intelligence. He did not need to coordinate these efforts consciously. The network was doing it automatically, like an immune system responding to a threat. Meanwhile, the Zephyrian Empire was continuing its campaign of terror. War Commander Vextar had ordered attacks on 2 more medical facilities, expecting each assault to weaken human resolve. His intelligence report suggested that humans were becoming increasingly demoralized and that coalition medical support was beginning to collapse. What Vextar did not know was that each attack was actually strengthening the human network. Every act of violence against medical personnel added more humans to the growing collective intelligence. Fear and anger were being transformed into focus and determination on a species-wide scale. Alex could feel the network analyzing the Zephyrian strategy in real time. Thousands of human minds were processing intelligence data, predicting enemy movements, and developing countermeasures. The same species that other aliens saw as weak and harmless was becoming something unprecedented in galactic history. Amy, send a message to all humans in the network. Tell them to prepare for Phase 2 of our response. Everyone should know what that means. Amy looked confused. Doctor, I don't know what Phase 2 means. Alex paused, realizing that his consciousness was operating on levels that even he did not fully understand. Trust me, they'll know. The network will tell them. Within hours, humans across the galaxy began receiving the message and immediately understood what they needed to do. Supply ships changed course toward strategic positions. Research teams shifted their focus to specific projects. Military personnel began implementing plans they had never seen written down but somehow knew perfectly. The Zephyrians had attacked a human hospital ship, believing it would demonstrate their power and break human morale. Instead, they had triggered the emergence of something that would change the fate of the galaxy. They had awakened a sleeping giant, and that giant was about to show them what humans were truly capable of when they worked together. The network was complete, and the real response was about to begin. Alex Carter stood in what used to be the medical bay of the sanctuary, but the space had been completely transformed. The wreckage had been converted into a sophisticated laboratory filled with equipment that seemed to grow more complex each day. Human ships had been arriving regularly, bringing supplies and personnel that Alex somehow knew he would need before they even contacted him. The network had been active for 2 weeks now, and Alex could feel the collective intelligence of humanity, working through problems that individual minds could never solve. Dr. Elena Martinez had made breakthrough discoveries about Zephyrian biology. Engineer Paul Chen had designed new technologies that seemed almost magical in their effectiveness. Hundreds of other humans were contributing pieces to a plan so complex that no single person could comprehend its full scope. Dr. Carter, we've completed the analysis of the Zephyrian command structure, reported Dr. Kevin Ross, who had arrived from Titan 3 days earlier. The network has identified 3 critical points that control their entire empire. Alex nodded, already knowing what Kevin would say before he spoke. The shared intelligence had revealed that the Zephyrian Empire depended on 3 key systems. Their biological weapons facility on Zerion Prime created the terrible diseases they used against civilian populations. Their central command nexus on their homeworld coordinated all military operations across dozens of star systems. Most importantly, their quantum communication array allowed instant communication between their scattered fleets. What about the hormone research? Alex asked Elena, who was working at a nearby station. Incredible discoveries, Elena replied, her eyes bright with excitement. Zephyrian aggression is controlled by specific brain chemicals that are regulated by electromagnetic fields. Their homeworld has a unique magnetic field that keeps them in a constant state of military readiness. Without it, they become much more peaceful and rational. Alex felt the network processing this information and developing applications faster than any individual could think. The plan that was emerging was audacious beyond anything attempted in galactic history. Instead of fighting the Zephyrians directly, they were going to change the fundamental nature of Zephyrian society. Captain Sarah Kim arrived from Ceres Station with a ship full of specialized equipment. Dr. Carter, The manufacturing facilities are ready. We can begin production as soon as you give the word. Alex walked to the observation window and looked out at the growing fleet of human ships surrounding the sanctuary's wreckage. There were medical vessels, cargo haulers, research ships, and even some military escorts. All of them had come here, following the guidance of the network, bringing exactly what was needed for the plan to succeed. Begin production of the pacification compound, Alex ordered. Dr. Martinez's research shows that we can create a biological agent that will neutralize Zephyrian aggression without harming them. It will make them peaceful, but leave their intelligence and capabilities intact. Lisa Parker, who had been working beside Alex throughout the crisis, looked concerned. Alex, what you're describing sounds like biological warfare. How is that different from what the Zephyrians are doing to us? Alex turned to face her, and Lisa could see that his eyes held a depth of understanding that seemed almost inhuman. The difference is that we're not trying to kill them. We're trying to free them from their own biological programming. The Zephyrians are trapped by their genetics, forced to be aggressive and militaristic. We're going to give them the choice to be something else. The network had revealed that Zephyrian society was not naturally evil. Their aggression was caused by brain chemistry that had evolved on their harsh homeworld. For thousands of years, they had been prisoners of their own biology, unable to choose peace even when they wanted it. The human plan would break those biological chains and allow Zephyrians to decide their own fate. Over the following days, the operation expanded across human space. Engineer Paul Chen had designed devices that could disable the Zephyrian quantum communication network without destroying it. Pilot Joe Stone was coordinating supply runs to position human agents throughout Coalition territory. Communications. Specialist Rachel Adams was breaking more Zephyrian codes and providing real-time intelligence about enemy movements. The most remarkable aspect of the plan was its coordination. Humans across dozens of star systems were working together with perfect timing, as if they were following a script that existed only in their collective unconscious. Supply ships arrived at exactly the right moments. Research teams completed their work precisely when their results were needed. Military personnel moved into position without receiving direct orders, guided only by their connection to the network. Alex had transformed the wreckage of the sanctuary into the command center for an operation that spanned the galaxy. From his position in the debris field where the crisis had begun, he could coordinate the actions of thousands of humans working toward a common goal. The same species that other aliens saw as harmless support personnel was executing a plan of stunning complexity and precision. Amy, what's the status of our agents in Zephyrian space? Alex asked. All teams are in position, Amy replied. Maintenance. Crews have installed monitoring devices throughout their technology networks. Medical personnel are ready to introduce the pacification compound into their water systems. The timing synchronization is perfect across all 17 target systems. War Commander Vextar was completely unaware of what was happening. His intelligence reports continued to show declining human morale and increasing success for Zephyrian terror tactics. He had ordered attacks on 2 more medical facilities just that morning, expecting to deliver the final blow to human resistance. What Vextar did not know was that human agents had been infiltrating Zephyrian systems for weeks. They came disguised as maintenance workers, medical personnel, and support staff. The same qualities that made other species dismiss humans as harmless also made them invisible to Zephyrian security. Who would suspect the quiet engineer fixing a water recycling system or the human doctor treating wounded prisoners? Dr. Carter. All systems are ready, reported Captain Dan Wright from the New Hope. Every team is standing by for your signal. Alex. felt the weight of what was about to happen. In the next few hours, they would either save the galaxy or destroy any hope of peace between species. The plan required perfect execution across multiple star systems, with timing measured in minutes rather than hours. Amy, send the activation signal to all teams. Begin Phase 3 immediately. Across Zephyrian space, humans began implementing the most audacious plan in galactic history. Water systems were quietly treated with the pacification compound. Communication. Networks were disabled with surgical precision. Biological weapons facilities were sabotaged so carefully that they appeared to malfunction naturally. The fate of the galaxy now rested in the hands of the species everyone had underestimated. Humans were about to show the Zephyrians what true power looked like.